off Zimbabwe.
U.S. hands, off Zimbabwe. U.S. hands, off Zimbabwe. Some of us, maybe all of us, know to build a liberation movement and to fight a liberation war involves the power of the people. And as Fred Hampton would say, where there's people, there's power. 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 The struggle is to unite the people, and then we can do anything. That's right. But once you liberate your country, then another level of work begins. That's right. That level of work is building a country for the people who are colonized in that country. That's right. You're building it with a different view, you're building it with different instruments, and you're building it which must be a new determination to make the country work for the people. That's the hardest thing. So the reason that sanctions exist is to destroy, to crack, to undermine, to sabotage the will of the people to build their own country. We can look around the world, as they say, look around, brothers and sisters. All right. From Havana, yes, to wherever you want to go. That's right. Where people have liberated themselves. That's right. Venezuela, Nicaragua, right, Iran. Even if you don't agree with everything they say or do, their fight to liberate themselves from imperialism is objectively an ally of the people who want to win. That's right. And so Zimbabwe finds itself a victim of its success. That's right. They don't use an atomic bomb and an atom bomb and a hydrogen bomb and don't think that they still might. Be clear, they are mad, but their weapon is sanctions. Yes. To destroy a country's ability to trade, to produce, to receive things from an international economy that they need. Vis-a-vis Haiti, vis-a-vis cholera in Zimbabwe. The medicines, the minerals, the resources you need to build a country come under attack. And so we came today to make that statement. President Mnangagwa was coming to the UN. He just left China, working on a program to help and continue to help Africa looking east, so they no longer have to look west. Okay? Looking east, so they don't have to look west. And it's a struggle. And coming back to Zimbabwe, new conditions that require, as people know who struggle, changing at a moment's notice. So he's not here. He's not coming here. He got business to take care of at home. Who will be here is Foreign Minister Shava, and we'll seek to have some conversation with him. But you know, December 12th movement has historically related to the liberation of Zimbabwe. And our attitude was always, when we have something to say or to ask, we do. If not, we ain't your agenda. Your agenda is to build your country. The greatest thing we can do is make revolution right here. The greatest weapon we could give to anybody in the world is for us to do our work here. And given the events of the past week, you see the nature of what that is. We're going to have some speakers come up and give some solidarity. And so, Roger, you have what they are. Straight ahead. Straight ahead. Straight ahead.
There are a number of groups here who have shown over the years their support for Zimbabwe, their support for revolution, their support for the people struggling to better their conditions and change their conditions. First comrade we're going to have come up is Comrade Eugene Perrier from the Party for Socialism and Liberation.
Hands off! Zimbabwe! 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 First and foremost, I want to thank the December 12th movement for gathering us here today to continue to stand against the sanctions being perpetuated by this country against the nation of Zimbabwe for committing the ultimate sin as it concerns the Western nations, freeing their land
and breaking the back of settler colonialism. And it's important that we finally lift the veil on the lies that have been told about land reform in Zimbabwe, the retaking of the land by the masses. You just have to look what's in the news year after year, the past several years. Zimbabwe has a bumper crop in wheat. Zimbabwe has a bumper crop in tobacco. Zimbabwe is producing the most gold it has ever produced in its history, again and again, breaking record after record. It's time we say that not only has the land reform not failed, but it's shown that retaking your land is the key to self-determination on the African continent, and particularly in Southern Africa.
ZANU PF. There's a Zimbabwean diaspora, and in the United States there's a ZANU PF USA, and we have the good fortune today to have one of the comrades, the commissar of the ZANU PF USA, to address us.
All right.
Brother Tamuka.
I just want to start by teaching you guys a slogan that we do for ZANU PF Zimbabwe when we start our conferences. So we'll put our fist in the air. So when I say Pamberi ne ZANU PF, you say Pamberi. Pamberi ne ZANU PF? Pamberi. Pamberi ne ZANU PF? Pamberi. Pamberi ne ZANU PF? Pamberi. So when I say our president's name, when I say Pamberi with Emmerson Mnangagwa, you say Pamberi. Then when I say Emmerson Mnangagwa, then you say Oye. Okay. Pamberi is our president, Emmerson Mnangagwa. Pamberi. Pamberi is our president, Emmerson Mnangagwa. Pamberi. Emmerson Mnangagwa. Oye. Emmerson Mnangagwa. Oye. Thank you, comrades. And with our president, President Emmerson Mnangagwa, he has a vision for the Zimbabwean people, which is called Zimbabwean Vision 2030. So when I say Zimbabwe, say 2030. Zimbabwe 2030. Zimbabwe 2030. When I say 2030, say Zimbabwe. 2030. Zimbabwe. 2030. Zimbabwe. Thank you, comrades. And I just want to express my gratitude. And I don't have words to speak right now. I'll become emotional because it's great being here in America, away from being home. And you have other brothers and sisters here supporting our struggle in uplifting the African community, the Zimbabwean community, to build. As you know, Zimbabwe, it means house of stone. And with our house of stone, it was shaken. And now we're rebuilding it to become the breadbasket of Africa again. And with your support, it's amazing that we're not standing alone. We've got other brothers and sisters that are with us in prayer and support with everything that's going on. And I was trying to say thank you. So this, just want to say thank you, comrades. Thank you for everything.
Pamberi! Pamberi! ZANU PF!
ZANU PF!
Pamberi!
Pamberi!
ZANU PF!
ZANU PF!
You know what we say? We ain't going
nowhere!
And that's been Zimbabwe's position since independence. They ain't going nowhere. If anybody was going any place, it was the colonists.
That's right.
And that's why Zimbabwe has posed a problem for the West, the US, UK, because it sets a very, very, very bad precedent for the rest of Africa. And that's been the concern. And that's why the attack and the campaign for regime change has continued to this day. I want to bring up comrade, one of the leaders from one of our sister organizations that we've struggled and worked with over the many years, Comrade Larry, Workers' World Party.
Comrades, whatever else we know that if December 12th didn't call this demonstration, probably no one else would have.
Right.
That's my thank you to December 12th. You know, we learned something from Zimbabwe, from their revolutionary process. It's very important. you can take over the government structures, but you don't have a revolution unless you take your land back from the settlers.
That's right. That's right.
That's a revolution.
That's right.
And U.S. imperialism and Western imperialism hates that.
Yes.
They don't mind if you form another government and, you know, well, we're black and the other government was white, you know, whatever. But when you take your land back and when you take your resources back, they get angry.
That's right.
You earn their wrath. And that is the reason for these sanctions.
Yes.
It's not just the U.S., the IMF,
Yes.
Western imperialism.
Yes.
They want to crush Zimbabwe because Zimbabwe is what we used to call uppity.
All right.
You know? They want a real revolution. I want to thank December 12th movement for something else that's related. You know, the anti-colonial struggle is old, is historic, is valiant. It's throughout the global south, every continent. But the beating heart of the anti-colonial, anti-slavery, anti-imperialist struggle is Africa.
All right.
Everywhere the African diaspora is. And because of that, and because of the history of the African liberation movement, because of what the imperialists and the colonialists have done to Africa and continue to do, it's the beating heart. And in a way, that beating heart unites the entire global struggle against colonialism and imperialism.
We've dealt with them since the last 12 years. We went to the International Criminal Court to take the U.S. and France to try to bring them before the International Criminal Court for what the U.S. has been doing all over, and particularly with us, and for what the role France had played in the overthrow of the elected president, Gbagbo, to be replaced by a French puppet.
Yes.
And so we've been with these comrades for many years, and they've always been in the struggle, and they haven't just simply restricted themselves to what was happening in Cote d'Ivoire, but a Pan-African vision of what the nature of that struggle is.
That's right.
So that's the Quadro.
All right.
And we joined the struggle of Zimbabwe because, as the comrade came before me and the others said, Zimbabwe is an example for the whole of Africa. We have started a fight centuries ago. It's not over yet. Mawali told us that once we start fighting, once you get your independence, that's when the real fight starts.
That's right.
And Zimbabwe has shown us the way. They've shown us the way, so we're following it. In Cote d'Ivoire, apparently, there's no more colonizers, but they're still there, embedded in the people through our own people.
Right.
They have puppets who do their dirty jobs on the people of Cote d'Ivoire and other African countries. It's unfortunate.
It is.
Because we have the resources, the raw materials, we have the people, we have the intellect to take care of ourselves, but they won't let us do it. And today, Cote d'Ivoire is in a state of shambles, if you ask me. We're still shackled by our own brothers who work for the oppressors. So the fight of Zimbabwe, of course, reminds us that we have to free ourselves from the shackles and take our own destiny into our own hands. That's the reason why we joined the December 12th movement, and we stay with them all the time. We do things together in the name of Pan-Africanism. Today, thanks to the effort of organizations like December 12th and others, Africa is seeing new lights. We have countries like Mali, Burkina Faso, Niger, who are taking their own destiny into their hands. saying no to the imperialism.
Always prepared. If I come up to him and without asking him to be ready to speak, it's like he's always ready. Comrade Steve Millie's from La Lucha.
All right.
Struggle La Lucha.
Lift the sanctions on Zimbabwe.
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 And I want to give a big thanks again to the December 12th movement for standing by Africa and Zimbabwe and all oppressed people over the world. What Zimbabwe has done is echoed in the slogan here, land back. That's what the people of Kenya tried to do in the land and freedom movement. And that's why the British colonialists, backed by the United States, hanged Field Marshal Dedan Kimathi, and they wouldn't even reveal where his body is. Every time they took a white farm in Zimbabwe took over the stolen land, they were avenging Comrade Dedan Kimathi.
Yes.
Yes.
Land back means land back right here is what they should have done in 1865. Taken the land from all the Robert E. Lees and also given it back to the indigenous people. Let's remember, it was the United States that broke the chrome embargo on Ian Smith's colonial state.
That's right.
And they did it in retaliation for the African UN delegates celebrating the admission of People's China to the United Nations.
Right.
And who initiated that was that personification of a lynch rope, Strom Thurmond, who worked with Joe Biden in the Senate.
That's right.
Right now, besides trying to strangle countries through sanctions, they are murdering tens of thousands of people in Gaza and all throughout Palestine, killing thousands of children. And their latest atrocity is this blowing up of the beepers and the phones in Lebanon. Israel, this stinking state, could not have done that without the CIA. And let's remember, isn't that how they murdered Comrade Walter Rodney in 1980? That's an old tactic that's right from the CIA laboratories.
Right.
So let's continue to stand by Zimbabwe.
Yes.
Land back!
Land back!
Land back!
Land back! All right. All right. All right.
That does not pay them enough money.
Right.
And so jumping the turnstile is a normal reality in our communities.
That's right.
Not making enough money to have transportation is a normal reality in our community.
That's right.
And most importantly, and you should all remember this, the trains were designed to be free.
All right. That's right.
The businesses were to promote and pay for them, because what were the trains doing but bringing their workers to work?
That's right.
The train system, just like CUNY, the blacker it got, the more it cost.
Come on.
To the point now where they will put a bullet in you or anybody around you to establish their authority.
That's right.
And be clear, it's to establish their authority over us.
That's right.
In Zimbabwe, that happened every day under colonialism.
Right.
Every day was them establishing their authority over us. That's it, plain and simple.
Right.
We determine what's going to happen up to including taking your life at a moment's notice.
Right.
And to respond to that, we have to be organized. To respond to it effectively, we have to be organized.
Yes.
And we have to continue to organize our people, because the people make revolution.
All right.
That's right.
It's the people that make revolution.
Come on.
It's our job to make them conscious, but it's the people who make revolution.
Yes.
Never forget that.
All right.
We can never forget that. And our unity today around Zimbabwe is just a small step of our responsibility. What goes on in that building over there is the biggest hypocrisy in the world.
Come on.
Biggest hypocrisy in the world.
Yes.
They plan for zero poverty. They plan for zero hunger. They plan for 000, that cannot happen as long as the UN is right here.
Right.
There was a plan to move it to South America. How can it be here? It was designed here to control the world.
All right.
And so most of the reasons that countries come here is to have bilateral and unilateral relationships so they ain't got to fly to those other countries.
Right.
But they know what's going on here is hypocrisy. Just like what goes on at City Hall is hypocrisy.
Okay.
Because the real deal is to exert their authority over us.
Right.
And we have to be prepared, if we're serious,
Yes.
to the long march that Zimbabwe went on to establish their authority over themselves.
Right.
To establish their authority over themselves. It's not an easy road. It's not a quick road.
Right.
But it's a necessary road.
Okay.
We have to bridge a lot of bridges. We have to cross a lot of bridges. Cross a lot of rivers.
All right.
To get there. But we got to get there. And once we're there,
All right.
we're just on another level of another fight. But we got to get there. Our children demand it.
That's right.
Our seniors demand it.